The 19-year-old Nona Dirksmeyer, a student at Arkansas Tech University in Russellville, could boast of a wonderful soprano voice and a seductive figure that caught the attention of all the guys. She used her talent and appearance to participate in beauty contests and won several of them. Nona was not your typical beauty queen. She was very shy, almost too much so, but public performances miraculously transformed her, turning her into a confident young woman. The girl dreamed of becoming a music teacher and was studying at Arkansas Tech University in Russellville. In school, Nona met Kevin Jones. In their senior years, they became inseparable and continued to date after entering university, even when Kevin transferred to another university, the University of Arkansas, a 2-hour drive from Russellville. Kevin didn't like being so far from his girlfriend, and he took every opportunity to come home on weekends. This was the case on December 15, 2005. The couple spent the previous evening together, and in the morning, Nona sent him a tender message. Kevin expected her to contact him again after her last exam that day, but she didn't call or message him. Since Kevin had promised his mother to accompany her to a holiday event at the school where she worked, he asked his friend Ryan Whiteside, who delivered pizzas in the same part of the town where Nona lived, to stop by and check on her. It's important to note that Nona didn't like her stepfather's strict rules, so she lived separately from her parents. Kevin expected Ryan to call and tell him that Nona had fallen asleep or something similar. However, Ryan only heightened Kevin's concern. He rang Nona's doorbell and received no answer, even though her car was in the parking lot and there was light in her apartment. On the way to the party, Kevin and his mother Janice decided to stop by Nona's. Kevin and Ryan couldn't open the front door. Kevin had a key, but he left it at home. So the guys went around to the back sliding door. Peering inside, they saw Nona naked, covered in blood, lying on the floor. They rushed into the apartment and Kevin attempted to help her, but it was already too late. When the paramedics arrived, they confirmed Nona Dirksmeyer's death. The murder weapon was determined to be the metal base of a floor lamp. Additionally, several knife wounds were found on Nona's body. Except for socks, she had no clothing on. But the forensic expert could not definitively establish if there had been any sexual assault on Nona. Usually, close victims become the primary suspects in crimes of this nature, especially when there are no signs of break-in or forced entry into the home. Therefore, when Nona was found on the floor of her living room, the police immediately wanted to talk to her boyfriend. That night, Kevin spent several hours at the police station, answering questions, and did not request a lawyer. But was Kevin truly a grieving boyfriend? And why was there so much blood on him? Detectives claim they diligently carried out their work and interviewed around 50 people over the following week. Ultimately, they refocused their efforts on Kevin because the violent attack on the girl suggested that the assailant was familiar with her, and it was a crime committed in a fit of passion. At the same time, the young man continued to comply with everything the police asked of him and even agreed to take a polygraph test. However, it was a significant mistake on his part. Kevin failed the test miserably. The guy continued to insist on his innocence when the investigator unequivocally told him that he was the one who killed his girlfriend. Kevin admits that he was genuinely scared at that moment. There was another reason for the young man to be afraid because 6 days after the murder, the police found a crucial piece of evidence on a light bulb near Nona. Only a small bloodstain could be seen, but it turned out to be a palm print, and it belonged to Kevin. Investigators hurried to develop the theory that Kevin was covered in blood when the police arrived because he was trying to conceal his own tracks, intentionally touching Nona and the murder weapon in front of witnesses. However, people who know Kevin, such as their mutual friend Adrielle, insist that he would never harm the girl. When Nona and Kevin were together, I always saw how he became a different person. Better, kinder, gentler, echoed Kevin's mother, Janice. However, the police were convinced of the existence of another, much darker and more sinister side of Kevin. On the other hand, why would Kevin want to kill Nona? After all, she wasn't just his girlfriend. He considered her his other half and was confident they would get married. Investigators believed that Kevin became enraged when he discovered something unexpected upon arriving at Nona's place on the morning of December 15th. An empty condom wrapper lay on the kitchen table in the apartment. Talking to Nona's friends, the police learned that she had started occasionally seeing other guys after Kevin transferred to another university. All these young men were interviewed, and after verifying their alibis, they were excluded as suspects. Now detectives had no doubt that Kevin killed his beloved girlfriend, unexpectedly finding out that she was not faithful to him. On March 31st, 2006, Kevin was arrested and charged with the murder of Nona Dirksmeyer. Only then did he truly realize that his fate would be in the hands of 12 strangers, and he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Prosecutors claimed that Kevin killed Nona in a fit of jealousy upon finding the condom wrapper. Allegedly, seeing this wrapper made Kevin furious. He grabbed a floor lamp and attacked Nona. Leaving the apartment, he called and messaged the girl to appear concerned. He also waited until the evening, when he could return to the crime scene with 2 witnesses and discover the body in their presence. Kevin's lawyers, however, had answers to all the prosecutor's claims. Firstly, an independent expert found that the questions asked of Kevin during the polygraph test were deliberately distorted to ensure he would fail. Secondly, the defense refuted the significance of Kevin's bloody palm print on the light bulb. Kevin, likely unknowingly, touched it in panic while trying to help Nona. Here, the crucial factor was the blood texture. Was it wet or dry when discovered? If the blood was dry, it meant it had time to dry, indicating Kevin left the print after killing Nona several hours before calling the police. But if the print was fresh when the police arrived, it meant Kevin was telling the truth, and he left it while providing assistance to the girl before calling 911. The words the police used were crucial here. Detectives and prosecutors described the blood texture as sticky, creating a significant problem for the prosecution expert because it contradicted his theory that the print occurred on the light bulb at the time of the murder. The next weapon in Kevin's lawyer's arsenal was the shape. Invaluable assistance to the defense was provided by the Russellville police officers and crime scene investigators who, since their arrival at the crime scene, negligently performed their duties. Fingerprints were only taken near Nona's body, ignoring blood near the entrance door and on the blinds. While one door of the apartment was locked, the back sliding glass door was open, indicating that this was the escape route of the killer. However, the back door was not examined for fingerprints. Despite the fact that the killer had to walk across the kitchen floor when leaving through the back door, no one looked for shoe prints. Although prosecutors acknowledged the mistakes made by the police, they still believed that the empty condom wrapper was crucial evidence against Kevin Jones. Supposedly, upon seeing the wrapper and assuming his girlfriend was with another man, Kevin killed Nona. Once again, Kevin's lawyers were ready. They argued that Kevin had never seen that wrapper. Otherwise, he would have grabbed it, leaving his fingerprints on it. The police examined the wrapper for fingerprints, but did not test it for DNA. The reason was that the laboratory told them that if they checked for fingerprints, they might destroy the DNA. If they checked for DNA, they would destroy the fingerprints. No fingerprints were found on the wrapper, but a small DNA fragment was eventually discovered by Kevin's lawyers. The DNA was male, but did not belong to Kevin. Kevin's lawyers also focused on Nona's phone. They wanted to examine the phone to find out who Nona had been in contact with on the day of her death, greatly embarrassing the lead investigator. He had to admit that he gave the girl's phone to Dwayne Diapert. It was strange that the phone was returned to Nona's stepfather in the midst of the investigation. But even more bizarre was the reason why Dwayne needed the phone. He had no intention of keeping it as a memento of Nona. Dwayne claimed he was a terrible miser. So, as all the services on the phone were still active and could still be used, he deleted all of his stepdaughter's contacts and added his own. The final argument that swayed the jurors in favor of the defense was the testimony of Kevin's grandmother, who said she met him at the gas station in their hometown of Dover at 11:30 a.m. on that day. This meant Kevin did not have time to go to Nona, commit the crime, and return. In July 2007, Kevin was found not guilty in the death of Nona. A juror later explained that the prosecution did not provide enough evidence to prove his guilt. There was nothing that unequivocally pointed to Kevin as the killer. For the next 18 months, Kevin's future hung in the balance, and now it was all over. Or was it? An acquittal in this case was not enough because many, including Nona's mother and stepfather, were convinced that Kevin got away with her murder. Kevin's lawyers continued to work on finding the real killer of the girl. If Kevin didn't kill Nona, then who did? Kevin's lawyers made sure investigators didn't forget about this case, urging them to review all materials, witness testimonies, lab reports, and interrogation records. One person stood out among other potential suspects, Nona's classmate, Alex. It turned out that he had a strong liking for the girl, and apparently the feeling was mutual. They spent a lot of time together and went on several dates. Their friendship soon turned into something more serious, as they could openly discuss quite intimate matters. For instance, Nona confessed to Alex that she didn't like using condoms during sex. And judging by the message Alex sent to Nona on that fateful day, he hoped to meet her. This guy looked suspicious, and investigators devised a plan to obtain a sample of his DNA. When he entered a cafe for a snack, an investigator was waiting in the staff area. The cafe staff brought him Alex's straw, which was sent for analysis. The police already believed they had the real killer in their hands. However, the analysis did not yield a match. Unexpectedly, a robbery that occurred 2 years after the beauty queen's murder brought back into focus a suspect that investigators had long forgotten: Nona's neighbor, Gary Dunn. Gary was a convicted criminal living right across from Nona, and he had been released on parole. During an initial conversation with the police, he claimed to have been shopping with his mother on the day of the crime, and his mother confirmed his alibi. Additionally, while Kevin had failed the polygraph test, Gary had successfully passed it. After Gary's arrest for the robbery in 2007, Kevin's lawyers asked investigators to compare Gary Dunn's DNA with the DNA found on the condom wrapper. The analysis showed a partial match. When the police questioned Dunn again after his arrest, he once again claimed to have an alibi for December 15, 2005. Dunn and his mother stated that they were shopping, provided details about the goods they purchased, and even named the stores they visited. However, upon rechecking their statements, investigators discovered that the items were bought on December 13th, not on the 15th. Detectives spoke with Gary Dunn's now ex-wife, Jennifer, who revealed that her ex-husband often displayed aggression towards her. A few weeks before the murder of their neighbor, she caught him hiding near Nona's house in the middle of the night, peering into her bedroom window. The new prosecutor decided that the DNA evidence and the false alibi were enough to charge Gary Dunn with the murder of Nona Dirksmeyer. The trial began in April 2010. The new prosecution team once again argued that it was a crime of passion. Only this time, Gary Dunn was the accused, portrayed by the prosecutors as an aggressive predator who had set his sights on an attractive girl. The prosecution contended that Dunn found one of Nona's cats on the street, pretended to be a friendly neighbor, convinced her to let him in, and then attacked her. He brought a condom with him, which he later disposed of, but forgot the wrapper. However, since there were no clear signs of violence, the forensic expert could not confirm that he had succeeded in his intentions. In turn, Dunn's lawyers argued that Kevin was the real killer. The irony was that Gary Dunn's defense used the same argument that the prosecutors used in Kevin's trial, claiming that Kevin, upon learning of Nona's infidelity and finding evidence of it, killed her in a fit of passion. Furthermore, they claimed that the DNA on the wrapper only partially matched Dunn's DNA, and could have partially matched the DNA of thousands of other people. The lawyers skillfully pointed to the two possible killers, leaving the jurors in a deadlock, unable to reach a unanimous decision. But this did not deter the prosecutors, and they charged Dunn again. Prosecutors were confident that this time would be different because they were allowed to tell the story of the assault on the girl, which remarkably resembled the attack on Nona. In 2002, 3 years before Nona's murder, Dunn assaulted Kelly Jo Harris while she was running on a secluded trail. He approached her from behind and struck her with a long stick, knocking her down. Dunn pinned her to the ground and threatened to kill her, but Kelly managed to free herself and call for help. When the police arrived, they found Dunn hiding in the water. Dunn was found guilty of the assault and served 18 months in prison, only to move into the apartment across from Nona after his release. However, despite Kelly's testimony, the second attempt to convict Gary Dunn ended in uncertainty from the jury once again. Dunn walked out of the courtroom a free man. However, his freedom was short-lived. Unable to stay out of trouble, Dunn is currently serving time for the attempted kidnappings and indecent exposure. The state of Arkansas could have charged Dunn with Nona's murder again, but they did not demonstrate any intention to do so. It can be speculated that after 3 attempts, prosecutors might have depleted their reserves of energy and confidence in securing a conviction. The story of the brutal murder of the beauty queen ends with a question rather than an answer. Is justice possible for Nona? After his release, Kevin Jones returned to his studies with the intention of becoming a lawyer. He filed a lawsuit against the lead investigator in Nona's case and the police chief, alleging that they concealed crucial evidence, depriving him of his constitutional right to a fair trial. However, the lawsuit was dismissed due to the expiration of the statute of limitations. Russellville will always be united in its love for Nona Dirksmeyer, but people's opinions may differ on who killed her. Some believe that the police were looking for a scapegoat when they failed to convict Kevin, while others fear that the perpetrator is still at large. Unfortunately, no one knows for sure what happened to Nona, except her killer,